right, let's talk about an idea so powerful it can literally redraw the map and redefine what a country is. We're diving into secession. It's a concept that has built new nations and, yeah, shattered old empires. So let's really get into what it means.
So, what if you could just fire your government? And not just walk away, but take your land with you? That, in a nutshell, is the core idea of secession. It's way more than just a protest. It's about drawing a new line on the map and saying, this part is ours now. It's a huge deal, which is why we really need to nail down what it is, and just as importantly, what it isn't.
Okay, so let's get a really solid definition down. This is super important because people often lump secession in with other kinds of political movements, but it's actually something very, very specific. The key phrase here, redrawing its boundaries. See, someone pushing for secession isn't trying to pull off a coup and take over the whole country. Nope, they're doing the opposite. They want to shrink the country, to basically carve out a piece and say, your rules don't apply here anymore.
And this right here, this is the most crucial part. It's the absolute deal breaker. Secession is always about the land. It's not just a group of people deciding to leave. It's about them saying the land they live on is leaving with them. If you don't have that claim to territory, well, you've got something else entirely, but it's not secession.
So what are those something else's? Well, to really get what makes secession unique, we've got to put it side by side with two other big ideas, revolution and emigration. They're all about challenging the state, but in totally different ways.
Okay, let's break this down. Think about a revolutionary. Their goal is huge, right? They want to take over the entire government, the whole shebang. Then you've got an emigrant. They just want out. They pack their bags and move somewhere else, leaving the territory behind. But the secessionist, they're different. They're not trying to take over and they're not leaving. They're staying put and trying to take the land out of the state's control. It's like they're saying, we're not going anywhere, the border is. So you see three totally different goals leading to three completely different results.
All right, so we've got the what down. Now for the really big question, the why. How does a group justify an act as radical as breaking a country apart? What gives them the right to even try?
Well, it usually boils down to three main types of arguments. You could think of them as arguments from identity, from history, and from, well, pure survival. Let's dig into each one.
First up is the big one, the one you hear about all the time, the nationalist principle. This is a really powerful, almost romantic idea. It's the belief that every distinct people, every nation, should have its own state, a place where the lines on the map perfectly match the culture of the people inside them.
And this isn't just some fringe idea. It's so influential that it's right there in a major UN resolution, the right to self-determination. It sounds so simple and so right, doesn't it? That a people should get to freely choose their own political path. It's a very powerful and appealing concept. But there's a huge catch. What exactly is a people? Who gets to decide? Is it about sharing a language, a religion, a history? The term is just super vague, and that's the danger. If any group can declare themselves a people with a right to their own state, where does it stop? You could have states breaking into smaller and smaller pieces forever. It's a real paradox. The thing that makes the idea sound so good is also what makes it so risky.
Okay, so the next argument is a lot less abstract. It's not about universal rights. It's about something very specific, fixing a past wrong.
The idea here is simple. Secession is like reclaiming stolen property. If a territory was taken over by force, annexed against the will of its people, then leaving isn't really breaking something up. It's putting things back the way they should have been. And this is why it's often called the most potent argument. It has a built-in answer to that all-important question of territory. The claim is crystal clear. This land was ours, it was taken from us, and now we're taking it back. The Baltic states breaking away from the Soviet Union? That's this argument in action, perfectly.
All right, our third and final argument is the most extreme. It's not about identity or history. It's about survival, plain and simple.
This is the argument you make when the state itself becomes the threat. We're talking about situations where a government is actively persecuting, attacking, or even trying to exterminate a group of its own citizens. In that case, the argument goes, that group has every right to break away, to secede, just to protect themselves and create a place where they can be safe. And the logic for claiming the territory here is really interesting, and it's different from the other arguments. It's not about this land was always ours. Instead, the right to the land is created by the terrible things that are happening. The need for safety is so extreme that it generates a right to claim territory as a safe haven. The land becomes the only tool they have to survive. So when you put all these powerful arguments together, it's really no surprise that secession is such a huge and hugely controversial topic today. It really roared back onto the world stage toward the end of the 20th century. You know, the end of the Cold War was like opening a floodgate. You had the Soviet Union collapsing, Yugoslavia breaking apart in a really violent way, and suddenly, secession wasn't just a textbook theory anymore. It was a brutal reality playing out on the news every night. And that trend hasn't stopped. If anything, these kinds of claims for self-determination have become a really central issue in the 21st century. But here's the thing. Even with all these compelling arguments, the rest of the world is nervous, really nervous. Why? Well, pretty much every country is afraid of a domino effect. They think, if we say it's okay for them to leave, what's stopping a group in our country from trying the same thing? They're terrified of the whole system just unraveling. And because of that fear, there's just no international agreement on when secession is okay or if it ever is.
And that brings us right back to this central dilemma, the big unanswered question. Is secession a vital tool for justice, a way for people to escape oppression? Or is it a Pandora's box, a recipe for endless conflict and breaking the world into a million tiny pieces? That tension, right there, is one of the toughest challenges we face today. Thanks for tuning in.